Welcome to the Hot Mess Express. Welcome to the Hot Mess Express. Today is Saturday. Tui's bigger enclosure. He's sitting here waiting to be fed. Hi, buddy. And Aries' larger enclosure will be delivered on Monday. So, for starters, we have gathered all of that bin has a ton of cork bark in it, as well as some wood that I gathered from just around my neighborhood. And a new giant water bowl for Aries, and then plywood. All of this was not in here this morning. We got stuff today. And the plywood is to set the new enclosures onto, because I don't have a stand for them yet. So yeah, this is a 5-ply plywood to help protect our wood floor from giant heavy enclosures. So yeah, it is going to get way more disorganized and way messier before it gets better. Stay tuned. All right, day 2 of Hot Mess Express. Getting this tiny little room ready for another big enclosure. We moved Ivy's Viv, which is right there. It's a 2x2 by 4 long, 2 deep, 2 high. Toad Ranch from this wall. Get in. Why? Anyway, from this wall to that wall. So we have this wall and this wall, essentially, for putting enclosures next to. Kind of part of that wall, but that's my desk, so it would just be, this is why we need to have that bigger house, because it gets super crowded in here super quick. So, yeah, kind of tiny little room, trying to fit big enclosures. Next step is installing the heat panel and the lights to the enclosure. So let's get that started. Okay, so really quick, just to give you an idea of how I'm doing the layout of the lighting on this enclosure. This is Tui's enclosure. 6x2x2. I have the radiant heat panel kind of pushed over to one side to create a gradient, so it'll be warmer, obviously, the closer you get to where this is installed. So this is tucked over to one side, and then it'll get cooler on the other side. And then I have an LED light here right in the middle towards the front, and then I'm going to install the LED when it gets here along this other side of the enclosure. The LED is a supplemental light, so I will have, the UVB is a supplemental light. The LED is not. So the LED I'll have on all the time. UVB, that'll give me some flexibility on whether or not I want to keep the UVB on all the time. Obviously not during nighttime, but yeah, just provides a little bit more flexibility for where and when and how to use the lights. So yeah, that's the setup so far. So to help you save some time and not screw up like I just did, it's not a big deal, it's easy fix, but plug in the heat panel first, because I always forget that this piece extends pretty far. So I now need to like unscrew the 3 screws that I just installed and scooch the panel forward a little bit, scooch it that way, to make room for that so it's not like bending and pushed up against the side of the back wall. So easy fix, but you know, if you can avoid it, this is how you avoid it. Okay, so Aries is done. Not Aries, Tui is done. And all set up. I'm letting the heat panel, the radiant heat panel, kind of do its thing. You have to let it heat up for about an hour and make sure it like airs out from the enclosure. So yeah, now that it is almost 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to start on Aries so I can move them both in there. Not in the same one. Move them into their new houses tonight. So here we go. Get in. All right. We did it. What you missed was us, me and my husband, lifting that enclosure on top of that enclosure. Not sure how we did it, but we did it. It is after midnight. There's lots of stuff in each one of their enclosures, so we are going to move them in right now. So it is the afternoon after we finished these builds. We finished them at about 1 a.m. last night. So it's the next morning, or not the next morning, it's the afternoon. And somebody is still very confident. He's come out to explore in this room as well. And yeah, he's so silly, but he's been loving it. There's a nice big stick in there for him to climb on, a bunch of cork bark, and some plants. Like there's a palm tree here and then a smaller palm tree over there. And then I have a ficus. I think that's a ficus. I'm so bad at plants, y'all. There, and he's been, and his very sad snake plant that he keeps on smooshing. But yeah, he seems to be very happy. And it's also feeding day today, so he's super active today. And then up here, we have Tui's new house. This one's a little shorter. It's only 2 feet tall instead of Aries' 4 foot tall enclosure, just because he doesn't climb as much. And he's tucked back there. Oh, you can see my Reach Out Reptile shirt in the reflection. So he's tucked back there. You can see him a little bit through his nice little hidden spot. That's his old hide from his last house. And he's got a lot of cork bark and he has some live plants. These two are live. And This little guy over here is alive, just to help with some higher humidity. And then he also has some fake decor as well. Really large water bowls in both their enclosures. So yeah, but this dude keeps on being super extra because he needs food. So I'm gonna go feed him. So here's a 360 tour of the room that I have all of my enclosures in. It's a little bit of a mess still because I haven't cleaned it completely from building. So this is what it looks like. So it's a small room. I'll get the measurements and share in the comments how big this room is. And the way that these fit in this room, I'm actually really pleased. It doesn't make the room feel that much tinier. Honestly, the smallest enclosure, just because of its placement by the windows, makes it feel smaller than the two larger enclosures that are tucked up against the wall. But all I had to do was move Ivy's enclosure that was where those two enclosures are now. We just moved hers against the wall here. And then that opened up this space right here for these two enclosures. So I had to move some paintings and stuff that were hanging on the wall over here and some little like stands for things that were around the room to clear some wall space. But that's how I have managed it so far, having some sizable enclosures in a smaller room. So yeah, if you live in a smaller space and you don't think that you can have bigger animals because of the space you're in, I would just encourage you to try and think outside of the box. And I don't know, you can find space in unexpected places. So yeah. Happy room.